DeAndre Williams.
What you're seeing right now is footage of me and the class of 2023 graduating. This footage was live streamed almost 2 months ago. But it doesn't feel like 2 months. It feels much more recent. And the reason for this is because this was one of the most important and impactful moments of my life. But what led me to this moment? That moment, rather. What led me to be the person that I am today? My name is wneup, and this is my high school life. Alright, so terrible intro aside, I just want to state something, briefly address something before we start this video, in terms of the education system. So, I live in the Cayman Islands, alright, which is in the Caribbean. Doesn't mean anything, but anyway, the Cayman Islands is a British overseas territory, and as such, we follow the British standard when it comes to almost everything, especially education. So, this is probably gonna sound a bit foreign to American people, or seem a little foreign maybe. Don't worry, it's basically the same thing, alright? So you have grades, we have years, you have kindergarten, we have reception. Although we do have kindergarten too, but that's just because we are so Americanized. We put that completely on you. That's your fault. We put the blame on you, alright? But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's really all you need to know for now. So just keep that in mind throughout the entirety of this video. Alright? Alright, great. Let's start with 7th grade. Now, I'm gonna try to, be as brief as possible all the time, because I do rant a lot. But anyway, year 7 was my introduction to high school. It was one of the craziest years of my high school life. Not the craziest, as you'll find out later on, but it was one of the craziest. Despite the fact, however, that a lot of my friends from primary school were in my class in year 7, and I had made a good amount of friends immediately, like in the first couple of days of school, I still felt alone. And I still felt like an outcast. Mainly because I was attending an Adventist school called Cayman Academy, right? Keyword Adventist. I had been baptized about a year prior, but I noticed that I was backsliding, basically. So I was under the impression that, because I wasn't really as Christian as I was supposed to be, I'd be scrutinized and, bullied, probably, I don't know. I feared everybody just turning on me because of, who I am. So I decided to become pretty reserved, I kept to myself a lot, yeah. Let's just say that. So I remember distinctly, in the first week of school, I was sitting by myself on the swings, sometime within the first week of school, and I was alone with my thoughts. I was thinking, oh, well, I'm not that Adventist, and I'm attending an Adventist school, so I'm not really gonna like it here. I might move if I can. I might switch schools, right? But guess what? Somebody walked by. Some senior class student walked by. And sorry about that. And she was talking to somebody, right? And she didn't notice me. She was completely in her conversation, which I was pretty thankful for. But then she said fuck. She said the word fuck in her sentence. It was fuck or fucking, I don't know. And I was like, wait a minute. Really? Out loud? On God, just like that? And all of the doubts that I had, all the insecurities, most of them, were just stripped away. And I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? I can actually express myself. But I really start to, you know what I'm saying, let myself go, started to express myself a little bit more to my friends and stuff. And it was a great introduction to, you know, high school and stuff. But not everything is as good as it seems on the outside, right? Things weren't really good at home, right? My mom, specifically, since I've been living with her my whole life, you know, I started to picture her behavior as like normal, I guess. But what she'd do, since she's Jamaican, anytime I was out of line, she'd beat me. That's perfectly fine. You know, I was out of line a lot. I acted up a lot as a child, mainly because I had ADHD, I think. Well, not that I think. I'm fairly positive I have ADHD. A lot of kids just come pre-installed with ADHD nowadays, so you know what I'm saying? I'm just one of the unlucky majority to get it. So I was acting out a lot, and you know, I get beat a lot for that, and that's perfectly fine, I guess. But what I really had a problem with, and something that became more and more apparent as time would go on, was not the physical abuse, because I don't think beating is abuse, to be honest. Like, if I have children and they're out of line, I'm gonna fucking beat them. So it's not necessarily what was physically happening to me. It was more mental. You know what I'm saying? She started to dive more into verbal abuse. Like, she'd say things like, "You're never gonna make it." You know, like, "You're worthless." You know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that. Those are the tame responses that I would get. I'm not trying to, you know, repeat the more motivated statements that she direct towards me, because, you know, something bad would happen to my YouTube channel. But anyway, those were the type of stuff that she'd say to me on the regular, and it started to occur more and more as I went throughout high school. But anyway, I was starting to, you know, let myself go. And because of that, my grades started to slip back a little bit. Just a little bit. But my mom noticed this, and, you know, she was like, "Oh, you were a straight A student in primary school. What's happening now?" Right? And, I mean, I guess I didn't really have an excuse back then. But still, she shouldn't have acted the way she did. Right? She still, you know... Well, she'd stop beating me necessarily with the belt, and she'd start, like, I guess hitting me, like just slapping me and shit, and of course the verbal abuse and stuff. So that started to get to the point where I was like, I really couldn't handle it, and I was starting to suffer from depression. And I don't really like saying that I used to suffer from depression, because a lot of kids say they suffer from depression nowadays. And it's become the norm to, like, you know what I'm saying, be mentally ill, or, you know, like, not be mentally ill, but, like, glorify mental illness. When it really shouldn't be glorified, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're mentally ill, you should get help. Like, don't just, you know, use it as a way to get attention or something like that, right? But I was depressed a lot. I was having thoughts. They weren't actions in particular, but I was having thoughts of, you know, wanting to kill myself. It was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. At some time later in year 7, sorry, I moved in with my dad, me and my mom. Excuse me, we moved in with my dad, so it was all 3 of us in the house. So when my mom would bring me down mentally, my dad would try to bring me up, and I'm really thankful for that, because I could confide in him a lot, and I could also confide in my friends, because, you know, I saw them like most of the time, so, you know, I could really confide in them. There was this one time I was writing in this sketchbook that you know what I'm saying? Like, I was gonna kill myself. I'm worthless. Just literally what my mom was repeating to me, I was writing it down, right? And I overheard some of the students, like, looking over, And I overheard them talking about, oh, you know, he's trying to get attention and stuff. But no, I was really going through it. I was really fucking sad. And it got to the point where one of my close friends, right, saw me writing in the sketchbook. He yanked the sketchbook away from me. And he's like, you can't keep thinking about yourself like that. And he gave me a hug. He hugged me. And I had never gotten that sort of affection from anyone ever. So it was really, you know, important to me. And, you know, those friends, those close friends, those bonds that I had formed earlier on in year 7, those ended up being, you know, very strong friendships later down the line, even to this very day. So I'm really thankful for those. And most of all, I could confide in God. You know what I'm saying? Because I was really praying. You know, I was praying just every day, day in, day out, that things would be better. Just praying that, you know, I'd see the end of this. I was honestly praying for God to, like, you know, take my depression away. I realized that that's not how that works, because you have to be put through trials to, you know, come out the other side and be a better person, right? But I was just praying for the depression to go away. I was just like, God, I don't want to be sad anymore. Please help me. It was terrible, but I could confide, you know, the people that I could confide in, the people I could trust. It turns out that I would really need them, and that these relationships needed to be very strong for what was going to happen next. I was acting out a lot. I got suspended, actually, just because of my antics. I don't even want to talk about what got me suspended in the first place. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it was rough. But if there was ever a time that I really needed to, like, you know, put my trust in people and actually really confide in people, it was in the next year. It was in year 8. And I'm about to tell you why. So year 8. If year 7 was an artist debut album, year 8 was the deluxe. Year 8 was just a sequel to year 7. Everything was crazier. Everything was crazier. I got into a lot of fights and shit. There was this one fight I got into with this tall girl named Anika. I don't even remember what the fight was about, but we were fighting and shit. She picked me up. I was relatively small. I don't even think I brushed, like, I think I was like a little over 5 foot at that point in time. She picked me up, flung me across the table like I was just a bag of like just a backpack. To be honest, I found it so funny I had to laugh. It was funny. Everybody was laughing, bro, and I just completely forgot what I was mad about. So everything was crazier. All right, there was more good, relative good, I guess, but there was also more relative bad as well. So around this time, right, my grades were starting to slip a little bit lower. You know what I'm saying? I was like a C student at this point in time. And my mom didn't appreciate this. You know what I'm saying? She's like, what are you, you're wasting your life. You know, she's like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time in school and shit like that. And not to say I wasn't, but I was actually trying to. But she didn't appreciate that. The verbal abuse got worse. The physical abuse got worse. Like, you know what I'm saying? She was straight up, like, pulling me by my clothes and shit. Like, just flinging me around and physically hurting me and shit. And then, you know, she heard I got suspended. The first time she heard I got suspended, she flipped, right? Because it was some crazy shit. And she was like, why the fuck were you doing that? Year 8, it only got worse, you know what I'm saying? I got suspended again, and it just got worse. It just got worse, you know, to an unquantifiable amount. It got to the point where I wasn't even having the thoughts to kill myself anymore. They were actions. I was actively trying to kill myself. I was cutting myself. I was hurting myself because her words were starting to get to me. She said I was worthless. I was starting to feel like it. She said I was a waste of space or something along those lines. I was starting to believe it. I didn't have the brain power to, you know what I'm saying, not to push that to the side. It was my mom, my literal mom telling me this shit. And it was starting to sink in. Because it was just repeated exposure. That was the only thing in my head. So I was trying to kill myself. Like, I got this rope and I was trying to tie it to the to some high, like a ceiling fan or the something like that, right? To like hang myself. And my mom caught me trying to kill myself. You want to know what you want to know what she did? She beat me. And you might think that's funny. But like, there was something wrong with me, obviously, but there was also something very wrong with her. Like, if you see your child trying to literally end their life and your first response is to fucking abuse them, like, what is your problem? What is your problem? That never, and to this day, that never makes sense to me. That never made sense to me, and it still doesn't. But I digress. I could start confiding in my dad, too. However, feels like our relationship started to get a little rocky. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if it's just anyone who's around my mom for an extended period of time starts to like take on her behavior or just starts to be miserable just like her. But my dad was, you know what I'm saying, kind of starting to treat me the same way. I don't know if he meant to, but he did. You know what I'm saying? Something would happen and my mom would just stand to the side as he hit me. And those were not good days for me at all. But I could still confide in my friends. I could definitely still confide in God. And one person in particular that I could confide in was my then girlfriend. She was a new student in grade 8, year 8. I keep saying grade. She was a new student. And I honestly thought that, you know what I'm saying? Oh, well, if she's gonna date anybody in the class, she's gonna date someone else, I guess, not me. I wouldn't expect her to be interested in me. And you know what's funny? I tell people about, you know, her. I tell people that I was in a relationship with her, and they don't believe me. They don't believe me. And I just let people think what they want to think now, all right? Famous singer decided to attend the school, I guess, because it was a private school, so I don't know, private school, more better education. I guess those are synonymous. But anyway, right? We started to become, you know, friends, good friends. She noticed I wasn't like other kids. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't really academically as smart as I used to be, but I was still pretty smart. And I feel like she really grew a she took a liking to that, and I guess also my hair too. You know what I'm saying? So we were friends for a long time. We, you know, hung out and stuff, and about 6 months into the school year, this was around February of 2019. She confessed that she was in love with me. And I guess I had thought about her that way too. You know what I'm saying? I noticed she was like really friendly with me, but I did not notice the signs, as most guys nowadays don't notice when, you know, a girl is interested in them or something, or they think a girl's interested in them when they're actually not. Yeah, but she did say she was in love with me, and we started our relationship. Pretty rocky relationship, but overall, those, you know, those were fun times. Those were enlightening times, you know? So, in terms of relationships, you know, I really strengthened the ones that I knew that I could. And, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I'm ready to take on the world. I'm ready to, you know what I'm saying, do whatever. I wasn't ready. Year 9. Everything went to shit. Everything went to shit. So let's just start from the beginning. Late 2019. Our homeroom teacher, my class's homeroom teacher, excuse me, she wasn't our homeroom teacher anymore, but she was still like, you know, teaching at the school. So we had a new homeroom teacher by the name of Mr. Walker. Now, Mr. Walker was just unlike any teacher I've ever had before. First off, Mr. Walker was a man. Can you believe I've had female teachers my whole life? Anyway, so that was a completely, you know, different environment or different teaching environment that I was a part of now, because it was a male teacher, a male homeroom teacher. So he's the teacher that we'd see like almost all the time. And another thing, you know, say he only wanted the best for us. He only wanted what was best for us. Nothing less. He had no foul intentions, no evil intentions concerning us. He just wanted the best for us. He took me and my best friend out of class one day, and, you know what I'm saying, he just gave us like a pep talk. It wasn't even a motivational speech. It was a pep talk. Like, he just told us, I see something special in both of you. I see something in both of you, and all I want is to help to bring that out and, you know, help you to achieve whatever you want to achieve in life. That's what he told us. Just took us outside of class and just told us that. And, you know, that was really inspirational. That really stuck with me. No offense to my dad, but he was the only male in my life that, like, really, like, inspired me at that point in time. So it makes it all the more sad. It made it all the more sad when I learned that he had died. This was a Saturday. This was Sabbath. I was going to church. I didn't even know about this until I got to church, right? And me and the class, we had a WhatsApp group, right? So we just chat on there whenever, you know, whenever. And that's where I got the news that Mr. Walker died. He got up just like normal, you know, getting ready for church, to go to church on Saturday, and then he had a heart attack. And he died on the spot. He was dead on the scene when the ambulance pulled up. he impacted me the most at that point in time in my life. So the fact that he was just taken away, it's like a piece of me died along with him. You know, I did what I would always do when, you know, anything bad would happen in my life. I just pretend like everything was okay. My mental state was much worse at that point. Definitely. My mom didn't even, you know what I'm saying? It's like she loved seeing me be sad. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I learned that Mr. Walker had died, and I told her about it, she said, I know. That's it. That's all she said. She didn't even address anything else. She didn't address how I was feeling. She didn't ask if I was okay. I still don't know what her intentions were. But I would have appreciated if, she just cared a little bit more. You know? But anyway, I digress. The Monday going back to school was one of the saddest. Everybody was just sad that Mr. Walker had gone. But we quickly, I guess, forgot, or we put that to the back of our minds after a while, because, you know what I'm saying, now we didn't have any teachers to teach us, I guess, or oversee us, so we pretty much could do what we wanted, and it was fun. You know what I'm saying? We were playing catch in the library. It wasn't a library. It's a room with books in it. It's just a room with books in it. All right, classroom sized room with books in it. But we were playing catch in there. I think we broke something in there. It was fun. Yeah, but so we kind of forgot about Mr. Walker, but I'll never completely forget about him. I'll never forget what he said to me. He helped me to really strive to achieve what I want to in life. And that Christmas was, pretty good. Celebrated it pretty nice. New Year's was cool too. And then 2020 hit. I was not ready for 2020. I'm not going to go over everything that happened that year. I'm just going to talk about what happened to me specifically. So, I was going through, 2020. I was in I think it was late January. Yeah, late January. And I was like, well, this is life now, I guess. It has nothing to do with me, so I'm pretty cool. I'm alright. I'm chilling. So one day, I was in the science lab, and our science teacher was teaching us about science. Not sure specifically. I believe it was chemistry, because we were in the lab, with chemistry stuff in it. So I'd like to think it was chemistry. So our science teacher was teaching us about chemistry, and everything was all fine and dandy until the building started shaking. Now, mind you, I am on the second floor. Our class is on the second floor of a 2-story building. When it's shaking, you can feel the shake. And it was an earthquake. And honestly, I was scared. I was scared shitless. I could not move. I was paralyzed with fear. I did not know that could happen. I did not know that was possible. One of my classmates had to literally drag me under the desk. I really thought I was gonna die that day. I really thought, I'm saying, oh, this is it. The building's gonna topple and I'm gonna die. You can't really blame me, right? Because, to be honest, the school's foundation isn't really that strong. Any more shaking, to be honest, the school could have toppled over or something could have broken. Alright, but I really thought that I was gonna die that day. But I didn't. I just pushed the trauma to the side and pretended everything was okay. As I learned to do a lot, you know? Especially when there was a flood warning as a result of that earthquake, right? Because earth shake water big. We were out of school for a little bit. So I was like, yeah, let's go. I almost died. I don't care. I got time out of school. I don't care. Anyway, fast forward to March 2020. You know what happened? Everybody knows what happened. COVID, quarantine, right? And we were all at home now, and we were all wondering, well, you know, are we gonna get taught? Is school even on anymore? Right? Our class was talking in the WhatsApp group. We'd call each other, you know, just hang out, socialize and stuff. And me, I was kind of taking it not that well, actually, because right, I'm a pretty social person. I love having face-to-face discussions with people. So that being taken away from me really kind of hurt me a lot. And I feel like it's done irreversible damage for me. Because now I'm feeling the effects of, you know, not really wanting to talk to people anymore, you know, being antisocial and stuff. I'm really feeling those effects now. So I feel like quarantine really did, like, irreversible damage to, like, my psyche and my mental state and stuff. But more on that later. So eventually, right, after like a week or so, the teachers did get in touch with us, and we started doing Zoom, started doing online classes. Since it was a completely different learning environment from what I was used to, my grades were understandably starting to slip back. And I know y'all are saying, you could just cheat. You could just cheat. You could look at Google. Well, you could, actually. But even then, the sudden change was just enough. And I never really, you know, adjusted fully. You know? And my mom never really appreciated the fact that, you know, I was on, you know, the computer doing classes, and my grades still sucked ass, and, you know, sucked even more ass than usual. When you pair what my mom had a problem with, which was, I guess, me being on my devices so much, because I was on them a lot, and with the fact that, you know, I had to be on them, but I still wasn't doing good in school because of it, it just drove my mom, I guess, over the edge, or whatever. Verbal abuse was at an all-time high. Physical abuse was at an all-time high. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, my dad couldn't even stop her at this point. He just couldn't. He just couldn't. My mom was just unstoppable at this point when it came to just making my life hell. And I was under the impression that, you know, things wouldn't get any worse. One of my friends, her name was Ashley. She, before we had gone into quarantine, right? You know, I was starting to hang around her a lot, along with a couple of her friends and stuff. That was like the second friend group that I had, you know, of more popular kids. My first friend group was more like, you know, outcasts and shit. Yeah, but this was more like, I guess, popular kids, you know, and studious children, very studious children. Yeah, but you know, well, she really helped me to accept myself more. You know what I'm saying? Like my self image. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna say I'm the best looking guy. All right, that's a complete lie. All right, but she helped me to accept myself for who I am. You know, and accept that I can, you know, make little changes here and there, and that I will eventually, you know, look better than I do now. She started that. She was the catalyst. You know what I'm saying? One day she saw me like covering my smile and shit because, you know, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was really self-conscious of that. I was insecure about that. And then she was just like, you should smile more. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look better when you smile. And I never heard that from anybody. So that really stuck out to me, right? So while we were in quarantine, she was hospitalized about a couple of weeks in. She uh had health complications, just like Mr. Walker previously. And one day she got up, she was fine, and then she started seizing and I guess having an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm, right? And she was rushed to the hospital, and she was in critical condition. She was, after a little while, she was basically brain dead. She wasn't responding to anything, and you know what I'm saying, like, a couple of her friends got to go see her at the hospital. I wasn't one of those people. But throughout that time period, right, we were all just praying and hoping. Me especially, just praying and hoping that God would help her, just help her see this through, come out the other side stronger than ever, because we had already lost someone. We'd already lost Mr. Walker like 4 months ago. November 2019. It was March. We'd lost him 4 months ago. We couldn't bear to lose someone again, so we were just praying that she would live. She didn't. After a while, she wasn't responding to anything, and eventually, they just had to, her family had to pull the plug. And we were all devastated. We were all just in denial, like, no, she's not dead. Then reality sunk in. And just like Mr. Walker, she was close to me. She inspired me to be better, and now she's gone. 2 deaths in the span of 4 months. I couldn't take it. I was praying to God that, he would take me too. I wasn't even trying to kill myself anymore. I was just asking God to kill me. I was asking God to take my life so I could, I guess, see her again, Then eventually, I pretended everything was okay, but it wasn't. And I started to realize that more and more. And my mom still didn't support me. My dad, couldn't really confide in him anymore. And then I moved. Me and my mom moved out of my dad's house into another house that, she'd been looking for a while now. In June of 2020. So this was June now. So, final month of, online school. Everything's going to shit. My girlfriend has broken up with me. Not at that point, but she did a couple of months later. Around summer of 2020. We're still good friends, by the way. But I had no one. I had basically nobody. Right? At the end of the online school, my grades were not that good. And my mom just could not take it. She took my devices and shit for a little while, like about a month. And that was it. I was just cut off from everybody. I couldn't confide in my dad at all because I couldn't contact him. Couldn't confide in my friends. Couldn't contact them. I was all alone with my mom. And that just made me feel lonelier. And I tried to kill myself again. It didn't work. And I just felt shitty. I just felt worthless. Absolutely no one was there. I didn't even confide in God anymore, right? Because my greatest prayer, the one prayer that I really, really, really wanted him to answer, he couldn't. He didn't. Not that he couldn't. He just didn't. He didn't fulfill my wish. So I was devastated. Eventually, I was doing YouTube at the time. I just had to quit. I had to take a break from literally everything, right? And just reassess everything. But despite all that, despite all the tragedy, the turmoil, the suffering, the pain, everything I went through, I was about to make my greatest comeback. Year 10. Craziest year by far of my high school life. Craziest, right? This was the point where I was just like, I was in my defiant stage. I was just like, all right, you put me down. You put me through all this shit. But guess what? I'm coming back. I'm coming back greater than ever. And I did. I absolutely did. Now, some COVID restrictions were still in place. For example, well, we could still go to school physically, but we had to wear masks to school. There were dividers at our desks now. We had to sanitize regularly. We had to do COVID tests, all that stuff. One of the greatest parts of these COVID restrictions now was that we had to purchase an iPad. Each of us had to own an iPad, to, reduce notebook, contamination and stuff. Let me tell you, the iPad was the best part of year 10. The best part. And year 10 in itself was the best year. So you can only imagine how happy I was, right? I didn't care anymore that, life at home wasn't even that good. Alright, I could confide in the fact that I had an iPad. I wasn't... now I know how Apple product owners feel when they buy a new Apple product. They just feel rich. In a sense, they just feel like, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got this awesome product. I have more money than you. I'm better than you type shit. That was one of the best years of my life. I was on my menace shit, you know what I'm saying? I was up to no good. And everybody was aware of this, right? I did some things in year 10 that, I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm not proud of. Alright? I did you're not on my level type shit. Like, you think you're more of a menace than me? I was always trying to outperform somebody. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not academically. I locked in with everything. Especially with the iPad. I was locking in with content, with music, everything. I was just locking in. I was making the greatest comeback ever seen. It was a really fun year. Did I say that already? Oh yeah. And another thing with the iPad, I was like, you know what I'm saying? I was really filming stuff. Little happenings that would happen around school. I would like film stuff, kind of edit them into like these little short videos and stuff like that. Yeah, but I really locked in with the iPad. The iPad unlocked a whole world of possibilities for me, especially in June. June of 2021 was the best month of my life, I'd say. Definitely of my school life. Like, everybody was just on their meta shit. Everybody knew what was up. Everybody was just having fun. Like, for real, everybody was just having fun, bro. However, some people didn't like that we were having fun. Most of the classes, most of the teachers said that we were the worst class in school because of the way we were acting, because of the way we were, conducting ourselves. But our homeroom teacher, Miss Dawkins, and thank you to Miss Dawkins, special thank you to Miss Dawkins. She saw us as like her little babies. She was our mother, our school mother. And we were just her little babies, right? She understood that she couldn't really, fill the void in our hearts that Mr. Walker had, left behind. But I feel like she did in a way. And even better, she talked to us, she communicated with us, she knew us in a way that, Mr. Walker, I don't think ever could. And I really appreciate that. Thank you again, Miss Dawkins. Thank you so much. But year 10 was one of the best years of my life. And I'm saying it again. Year 10 was one of the best years of my high school life. If you were around on my channel during 2021, you're an OG fan and I appreciate you. But, you should clearly know how much my content improved from 2020 into 2021. No doubt my best year, right? So I did it. I made the greatest comeback to me, and a lot of people realized that, right? And it was fun. Year 10 was just fun. But I feel like that was the first and last time in high school that I had ever had genuine fun being at school. Like, all the time. I'm not gonna say I never had fun anymore, but that was the last time I genuinely had fun in high school. Because what would happen next would be less fun and more work oriented. You know what I'm saying? This is the time when you really had to take your future into account. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have that solidified. But to be completely honest, I had to figure it out. Year 11. Now, let me state something before we continue. Right? So, Americans have like 12th grade, right? Right. So, we also had that. We had year 12. Right? But the educational system changed a couple of years back. And now, the last year in high school isn't year 12. It's now year 11. So if you want to do, I don't know, sixth form, which is basically year 12, you could do that if you wanted to. But high school now officially ends at year 11. But our year 12 class was still gonna graduate at year 12. So we were gonna be the last year 12 class of our school to graduate. And we were also graduating with the first year 11 class to graduate of the school. So at this point in time, now, me being in grade 11, our class was joint with year 10. So years 10 and 11, basically one class, right? Now CXC is just a little Caribbean thing. All right, we have CSEC external exams that we have to do in our final year of school. All right, you probably have, I don't know, GCSE or the CAT exam or the dog exam or the hamster exam. I don't know what you call it in America. We had those external exams for our final year. So we had to choose what subjects we wanted to do. And those subjects would determine which external exams subject specifically we'd be doing in our final year. So, everybody chose their subjects, pretty fine and dandy. So I chose my subjects, started to work. But I didn't start to work. You see? At the beginning of year 11, I need to stop saying grade. I'm so sorry. I need to stop. At the beginning of year 11, though, About a month in, my mom kicked me out of the house because she really could not deal with me anymore. And because of that, I felt so many emotions. So much emotions at once. I didn't really know what to feel exactly. So she kicked me out, and I moved in with my dad and his new wife, my stepmom. And immediately things were looking up, right? Because I was out of her environment. I wasn't hanging around her all the time anymore. I was actually in an environment where, like the people, for the most part, my parents respected me. And I could go to them about certain things and they would understand or try to understand and help me out. So everything just started to look up. That really helped my mental health a good amount. Not to say that I was mentally healthy at this point, though. I was still fighting demons. I was still battling some shit, I swear. I could fight it now. I had a fighting chance. I feel like every time I go into a new environment, a new side of me is, brought out more. And in particular, the side that was brought out in year 11 for me was my ignorant side, I guess, because I just started to grow more and more into the state of, I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, I don't care. My nose is stuffy. Holy shit. I didn't care anymore. I didn't care about school, right? I was like, oh, I don't need school. I said some bullshit like, oh, I can just, get a degree online. I don't need school. That's stupid. Okay, that was stupid. That was a stupid mindset. That was a stupid phase that I went through, right? And my reasoning was like, you know what I'm saying? What's the point of trying so hard in school? If I'm just gonna end up getting a dead end job, a 9 to 5, where I'm just sitting in a slant, just this posture all the time, just hunched over a computer, typing my life away. What's the point? And there is some logic to that, but the way I went about it was wrong. I still do believe that in a way, but it's more generalized now. I've generalized it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the point of really, spending time doing something all the time if it's not going to help you in the future? What's the point in indulging in these habits? If in the long run, they're not going to help me in any way, or they're going to set me back. What's the point? That was the phase that I was going through. Just, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to try anymore. I was just doing the bare minimum, all right, to just get by in life. Just doing the bare minimum. And I was doing that the whole time. And it never really occurred to me that, soon I was going to be out of school. And that if I kept this up, then I would really get nowhere. I just prioritized having fun all the time. I barely got work done. I had fun early on, but then later on, I didn't have fun anymore. I was being called in again and again and again and again and again to finish assignments that I never completed. And even while trying to complete those assignments, I was still just goofing off. I didn't take shit seriously. And that was detrimental to me. I regret that I didn't understand that sooner. Alright, because by the time it hit summer of 2022, I was like, holy shit. I'm going to be in my final year of high school. I'm going to be in year 12, and then I'm going to graduate in just a couple of months. And it's just going to go by like that, in the blink of an eye. And that's when I realized I couldn't keep going like this. I could not keep up this ignorant side, this ignorance, this arrogance anymore. I had to change. And I did. And I'm so happy that I did. Year 12, the final year of my high school life. Now, this was clutch time for me, right? This was clutch time for me. If there was any point in time where I really had to just lock into my academics and just do the best that I could, it was now. And that's what I did. That's what I did. I locked in, focused on my work, and I still found time to, goof around and shit. What I did though was to try to balance both. And I will admit I wasn't the best at that. But for the record, for the most part, I think I did pretty well. Right? Now, year 12, since it was the final year for our year 12 class, and since it was the final year for the year 11 class, years 11 and 12 now, we just bonded. It was just natural, you know what I'm saying? For the most part, I guess. There were some disagreements as normal because people disagree. That's just how people are, right? But for the most part, we were pretty all right with each other, you know what I'm saying? I had conversations with people that I never really talked to before. Everybody just naturally started to bond with each other. And it was fun. I think I'm friends with pretty much everybody in the class. Years 11 and 12. If not friends, like acquainted at least. Like a pretty good acquaintance, you know what I'm saying? We were working a lot because this was our last year. So we got a lot of work, a ton of work. But we were still having fun. I was having this discussion late 2022. I think December or November probably. Yeah, probably December. I was discussing with one of my friends, right? And she said something that stuck out to me. She said, I don't think it's settled in yet that it's our final year of high school, you know? But come next year, in the next term, it'll finally settle in that it's our final year. And I was like, yeah, you're definitely right. Because that's exactly what was going on. And she was absolutely right. It didn't settle in that it was our final year of high school until, a couple months before graduation, right? But we didn't let that phase us, I guess. We still balanced fun and work at the same time, and it was just overall an enjoyable experience. And then CXC rolled around. Oh, CXC. 2 months of my life. Almost, that I will never get back. Oh, if you've been through CXC, you know it's stressful. You know it's stressful. I considered it to be stressful before doing it, right? Because, it's CXC. External exams. These are like the final exams I do before I literally leave school. Like, these determine whether I get to pursue tertiary education or not. Right? So, a lot of pressure. But then going through that CXC period wasn't even that bad. For real, it wasn't even that bad. We all shared like more or less the same experiences, right? Like as soon as, a good portion of us would get out of the exam room after we were done, right? We just talk about like a specific question, or we just talk about like what was that entire section of the exam paper? Because to be completely honest, some of it was bullshit. Yeah, but it was kind of stressful, but friendship, you know what I'm saying? The relationships really made that time worthwhile, and eventually we made it out the other side of CXC, and we suddenly had nothing to do. Kind of, we were just practicing for our graduation service, but that was it. Other than that, we were just hanging out, just having fun at school. A little of that menace period of grade 10, year 10 came back in year 12 because like, what I'm saying? It was like our final few weeks of school. What were they gonna do? Suspend us? Expel us? Not let us graduate? I mean, I don't know how the system works, so I don't know if they have the ability to do. Oh, yes, our graduation song. It was I'll Always Remember You by Hannah Montana. I will never forgive Miley Cyrus for making that song, is what I said a couple of months ago. But now it's not even that bad of a song for real. It's just the fact it was being played over and over and over. We had to sing it over and over and over again, right? But if I were to hear the song playing on the radio now, I'd rock out, definitely. But what was funny about us practicing that song in particular was that me and a couple of the guys in our class, we were really singing our heart out, like we were emo or something, or like rock stars, you know what I'm saying? Like, it got to the point where the choir was over there on one side of the room, me and the guys were over here on the other side just singing our hearts out. Choir would laugh occasionally at, you know, just our vocal inflections and shit. It was funny. It was hilarious. And then graduation rolled around. That whole week, the week before we graduated, was one of the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really got to have fun, and we really got to understand that this is it. This is it. We go now. We go from here. We go. We leave the school. And we were all just so elated to leave the school because it has brought on piles upon piles of bullshit. All right, so we were just happy to go, right? But we were gonna miss each other, obviously. But we were just happy to leave, just happy to be out of there. Me in particular. June 24th, the day before I graduated. That was a Saturday, and obviously, since it's an Adventist school, this was kind of a compulsory program that we had to attend. So we had a consecration service in the morning. Just, you know, the church, the Adventist community banding together to, you know, send us off with God on our side. And then we had the Thanksgiving in the evening, the Thanksgiving service, where, you know, we got to wear our nice little class colors. There was a whole thing about class colors for like our suits and dresses and stuff. Year 12 got royal blue and gold. Year 11 got burgundy and pink. I was like, how are you gonna pull off burgundy and pink? I was surprised. They pretty much everyone pulled off, you know, what color they got, me included. You know, that was just the consecrational service, the Thanksgiving service, just thanking, you know, whoever was in our lives, you know, to help us bring this far. What did I just say? Thanking whoever was in our lives for allowing us to reach that point. And then graduation came, June 25th, 2023. I graduated. Me and the class of 2023. I honestly thought we were going to do the hat thing where we just threw the hats off in the air, but we were in the church, so that wasn't going to happen. But anyway, I graduated. I'm not going to lie, I didn't get the most awards. I didn't receive standing ovations. But guess what? I did my best. I feel fulfilled. Alright? I feel like, you know what I'm saying, I can take on anything now with enough determination. So that's what I learned from graduation, right? And then we had the prom later that night. Prom / dinner / meetup / hangout, whatever thing. I don't know. It wasn't really a prom because the school is poor. Well, they're not poor because they rented out the whole ballroom, a whole ballroom for the prom. But they weren't rich. It wasn't a prom per se. It was just a gathering. You know what I'm saying? But it was fun anyways. The one regret I do have is that I didn't stick around that long because me and some of my core friends in the core friend group that I had, we left, we dipped. We left and we went across the street to a restaurant, had the best food of my life, and we were just, that was fun. That was fun. I do regret not actually being at the ballroom though, because, you know, they were going crazy with the dances and stuff. But then they kind of got into a little bit of trouble, which I don't really know the full specifics about. I don't know all the details, but they got into a little trouble over there. And I wasn't there, so, you know what I'm saying? That had nothing to do with me. So after I said goodbye to my core friends, fans is hilarious. Yeah, some of my core friends for, the last time, I still talk to them, but I haven't really seen them face to face since that day. I went back over to the ballroom. There was a beach outside of the ballroom, so everybody was just there waiting for, their parents to pick them up. And we just socialized. We just were there until, the night ended. Yeah, we just hung out there and just shared in each other's company. We just understood that this was the last time most of us would ever see each other. But we were perfectly fine with that because we'd had fun. We'd achieved this great milestone. We were all a part of it, right? It was fun. Eventually, I said my goodbyes, and as I cruised through the night, I stared out the open window of the passenger seat, and I thought to myself, well, that chapter of my life is over. Where do I go from here? And that's the question that I'm posing to you. Whatever you're going through, whatever setbacks you experience, are you gonna just sit there and cry about it? Or are you gonna get up and keep going? And once you've fallen down and gotten up enough times to where you've finally achieved your goals, where do you go? Where do you go from there? Do you say, wow, I've achieved what I've wanted to, I can relax? Which isn't bad. Alright, if you feel you've achieved what you needed to do and you can just relax now, that's perfectly fine if you want. But some people will choose to go even further. Some people will choose to exceed the limitations placed on them. And that's not bad either. You have to get to that point where you say, I've achieved everything I can. To where you could say, oh, I can relax, or oh, I can achieve more. My high school life, or my entire life in general, was just a bunch of setbacks. But I got back up every single time. And I went even harder than I was doing previously. I have in no way achieved my goals yet. My major goals, my main goals in life. But when I do, when I reach that crossroads, and when I finally pose the question, where do I go from here? I know I'll make the right decision. I know I will. Because of all the experience that I've gotten over the years. I know I will make the right decision when it comes to that. And when you get to that point, I know you will make the right decisions as well. So I implore you, as I close, say it's like it's a sermon or something, but I implore you, right? Every time you encounter a setback, get back up. Never give up. Never give up. Never give up. That's it, actually. That's all. Just don't give up. Keep going. Keep being determined. Keep being the person that you want to be in the future. Make a positive impact on everybody. Everybody that you come in contact with. And that's it. Never give up. I know I did. And I know that I never will. Thank you.